Welcome, everybody, to the Homefront. This is Jeff Dudan. If you are the embodiment of Seattle culture, including a tech startup with his high school buddy, a rock band called Married, an author of a short story, Traveler's Rush, and the host of a really bitchin' mustache. If your startup raised $2 million, ran on fumes for 9 years, and ultimately through acquisition represented many leading brands like Nike and Chanel, and if now you are the owner and leader of a fast-growing integrated web platform called DevHub, your name can only be the bold, the beautiful Mark Michael.
Honestly, I get so overwhelmed when I hear an intro for me, honestly, because again, it's like what you got to figure a life basically shortened into whatever that was, like a minute, you know. And it's like I went through every single emotion as you named each thing, you know, because it seems simple with like one night. Oh yeah, they raised it and they were running on fumes. It was like more like 15 years. It was more like paying yourself basically $1,500 and lucky that you married somebody that made money, so you never skipped a beat. And like, anyway, yeah. Thank you. Welcome. I'm excited to be here.
You need a minute? Or are we good? I don't know. There was a walk down.
No, you're good. Let it rip.
Well, I'll tell you, Mark, we've met only a couple of times. We're working together now on some pretty important projects for Homefront brands. And after meeting you, I really wanted to have you on the podcast because you have a presence, you have a view, you're an outside the box thinker. And I think our audience can really benefit a lot from your journey. And then also too, man, web development, web platforms, the front door of our businesses in digital fashion, man. It's like where there's so much action and so much interaction going on out there, and it's changing really fast. So I think there's a lot to get today. So, but I'd love for you to start with a little bit, maybe personal background, interesting things, how you grew up.
So I won't shy away from the fact that like my dad was best man at my wedding. I hang out with basically my family probably the most. I've had the same business partner since I was 17, and I've probably made what I call about 1 million mistakes. The only way for me to have learned what I've learned, even if I'm being told, like right now, is you, the listener, being told all this is, I always think the human experience was the best way for me to learn, and then also for me to have experienced it, because even I tell this to my younger nephew all the time. If you see me in the video, my arms are crossed right now, and I would tell my investors when I was 22, 23, 24, 25, I'd be like, you don't know, you've never been where I'm going. We're building the biggest, huge ego, huge cockiness, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, you don't know what we're doing. You've never done this before. And of course, they all have. But I'm like, I'm bigger than that, and they would always just look at me, arms crossed, like I'm doing right now in this video, and they'd be like, okay, Mark. Okay. No one ever yelled back at me. No one ever told me, just listen for a second. I didn't, and I in some ways, I don't regret it in the sense that the only way for me to have learned was to kind of experience it in that way of like making all those mistakes. I'm now 42 years old, married, no kids. I travel between Seattle, Arizona, and New York City. It's just what happened. We wanted kids. It just didn't work out that way. I'm not going to let that stop me from anything else, be a great uncle, obviously. And so, the journey of devhub.com in particular was, we basically had a design agency doing websites on WordPress for years. And then what happened was every bit of money we would make doing the agency work, we'd always want to build a startup. And so every time we made money, we'd put into like what we call R&D, and we would build stuff. And we built and sold 2 of those things at kind of a beta stage. And then we built a really cool way to build websites. At that time, we raised, like I said, right around $2 million. We burned it all in 6 months. We thought we were going to be rich. I'll say raising money
what did foosball tables cost back then?
Yeah, we did all that. We expanded the office. Like everyone, it was like all the dumb things you don't know what you're doing at 24. I called my brother. I'm like, yo, move to Seattle, game over. We're rich. There's no credit checks with raising money. There's no, It's all of a sudden you need somebody who believes in you and they wire you the money. It's a simple couple sheets of paper. They sign it, wires the money, and you're off the races, And it was just like almost unbelievable when you get that money, even though nowadays 2 million doesn't seem like a lot. It was a lot when you had nothing, and then you think you have a business because you have money in the bank, and what you quickly realize is every dollar that goes out is not coming back. and and then in 6 months, after all the pizza parties, after hiring 35 people, after getting the foosball table, expanding the office because we needed a game room,
Right.
then you got to figure out, oh God, what is your business? And for me, I will just tell you, if you're on the other end of this or you're in it, all of my entrepreneur peer group was like, Mark, just give up. Like the idea didn't work anyway. So like you're allowed to, as an entrepreneur, you're allowed to fail and move on to the next thing. Don't let this like hold you back. But like for some reason, me and my co-founder just couldn't be the people that, lost people's money. And so we stuck with it, and we would do anything to keep the lights on. We always had this platform, DevHub, and we would innovate on it and look for customers. And so some of the first customers were media companies who were using it to build small business sites. And then that evolved into multi-location brands, i.e. franchise.
As somebody that's been building technology franchise companies for quite a while, 2 decades, and then also really building some technology companies, I was aware of DevHub quite a while ago, but I didn't think it was for me. I thought it was more for developers. Was it a tool for developers, or was it always for end user consumers like we are engaging with you today?
So I'll say it like this. So we started with white labeling it to those media companies who worked with your Advanta Clean back in the day, but we never had a relationship with you. So they were, instead of picking a WordPress, they picked DevHub. They would build on it. We would support them in building in it, but even though they weren't maybe the best at it because they're not web developers, we'd be like, come on, let us like help. And but they're like, no, we got this. And so I don't know. Anyway, so no, but that name obviously lends itself to that. On one end, people think it's that big, and then on the other end, it's like, oh, it's an outsourced dev shop that does something else. And so I don't know. At this point, I just won't let it go.
How'd you originally get into tech?
When I was, I'll tell you this story. I don't know if I told this on a podcast before. Like when I was 17, I think it was, I basically knew I was never going to work for anybody in my life. So you got to figure I graduated high school in the year 2000. So, 96 to 2000, right, was like the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, game over. Like it's all about the internet. I always looked at it like it was oil or the gold rush. And if you can hit a pocket or a vein or whatever, like it would come gushing. Uh, Obviously, it was not like that. Now you fast forward 20 years, but nonetheless, at the time, that is 100% what I thought. And also like the mindset was like at even 17, 18, and even today, like if anyone can do, if someone else has done it, I can do it as good, if not better. And so, and to me, tech is like real quick. So ultimately, like tech is like I can run this whole thing off of our phone, right? Slack is connected to this. This is all virtual at this point. And as much as I care for the tangible things of art and like even like I want to own a hospitality company one day, this and that. It's like I don't want to worry about the fork and like the tablecloth and who's showing up and who's like in tech. It's like it's sort of just in the air. And so I don't know. I was hooked from basically AOL, call it 94, 66 megahertz computer. I was all about it was tech for me.
It's interesting, as somebody who built service business, there was a lot of window dressing that goes around these businesses. Oh, you gotta brand the office for, you got to create your brand, and then you got to brand your vehicles. Then you got to brand the office, and then you got to get people to come into the office, and then you got to have a training room, and you got to have a place where parts are stored, and all of this personal interaction happens. And it was almost like, that was the hub. The hub was the physical location, and that's where it began, and that's where it ended. And when I was contracting, man, I mean, I'd leave the house before 6 a.m. You're in the office by 6:15, 6:30, coffee's going 7 o'clock, certain people are rolling in by 7:15, all the crews are rolling in. And it was just this ritual of interaction, in physical interaction, with the physical accoutrement of everything that was going on there. And then we would go out and physically engage with people in their homes and businesses. The blend of that with the virtual world and taking away, I'm really on this big subtraction kick, right? Like, the older I get, the more my success is about the things that I take away to create space for the things that really matter. And I mean, to your point, like, you got this money. Oh, we need office. Which means we need office furniture, which means we need to attract this type of person. They're going to need to play pool and foosball and, have a coffee bar and maybe a kegger, and it's like, we got to have all this stuff, right? But the reality of it is, you don't need any of that stuff. To be in tech. And you really, you need only a bit of that stuff to be in service. And, the less friction that you create by creating rituals and routines that don't matter just because it's the way that people have always done it, the faster, the more agile business, the more profitable business, the more effective business you build. And I think, like, people, especially of my generation, and I'm in my mid-50s, we struggle with that, because we're looking to create this look, feel of a business that we've always had. And I constantly find myself, thinking about, structure before strategy, not strategy before structure, and really at the end of the day, it is the people that are thinking like you and the people that are thinking very nimbly, very tech forward are it is, if you put yourself in the right rooms and you allow yourself to be tech forward in your thinking, and then maybe you sprinkle in a couple of books like Ray Kurzweil's book of, the singularity is near with AI, that's telling, that somebody who's thoughtful about trends and actually where the world is going, you will create a completely different path than you probably would have otherwise if you would have just tried to do the same thing over again. And there's nothing to say to that, because that was just a big ramble, but like, that's kind of where my head's, that's what I walked into the room with.
Here, honestly, what I'll say is, like, I'm still nostalgic for being in the office, though. Like, I genuinely, and, I'll say this candidly too. Like, 3 months into the pandemic, I left Seattle. I didn't leave Seattle. We got a place in Arizona. Again, I thought the whole thing was going to be a snowstorm. I didn't know it was going to last 2 years. And I was never more sure of my life up until March 2020, going out my front door in downtown Seattle, walking across the street to DevHub's offices, which still exist. And, like, just seeing everyone who's in line to the coffee shop downstairs in the Class A office building, going up the elevator, the randomness of the hallway, the randomness of the interactions at the desk, who's in, who's not in, what attitude are they bringing. And then, whatever, fast forward 5 years, and I sometimes will say to people, like, oh, forget Seattle. And that's the first time I've probably admitted it in public. And I always have to remind myself that it's not Seattle that changed. It's just that people's lives and the little spheres that we were all connected by a physical place it's not what's important to them necessarily. And, it created that remote culture. Again, we're also a small company, right? We're 140 people. So, you figure, like, there was never a fair way to, after we bought that company in New York City, half of our people are East Coast, half are West Coast. So just because you live next to Seattle, like, you need to come into the office, but meanwhile, if you're in Chicago or New York, where we don't have an office, you get to work remote. Like, there was just, and again, the bigger companies, like, everyone needs to come back to the office. Yeah, I get it. You're lucky in some respect. But yeah, we were never able to. But I do often think about what are the people missing from the human interaction. But again, I always ask our team every day, as long as you're happy, I'm good. As long as the work's getting done, I'm good. And so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if, we're, we're 70 people now here at Homefront, and only 16 are local. And it was much more than that. But if you prioritize talent over proximity, then you're going to find the most talented people. And now I look at it and say, we spent a lot on flights because we do bring a lot of people in for our Meet the Team days to meet our candidates. We want them to meet the people that they're going to be working with. And we think that particular event is really important for us. And we have trainings here that are in person, that are hosted. So we probably spend an awful lot on flights. But maybe we spend a little bit less on office space. I don't know what the mix is there, but I know that during the pandemic, we in North Carolina had decided it was over. And then I went out to meet with the coffee concept out in Seattle, and Seattle had decided it was not over. And I mean, it was, we're walking down the street to get a cup of coffee, and it's like the coffee counter was 4 paces inside the front door, but to walk from the street to the front door to the coffee counter, 4 steps, you had to show your vaccination card. And we were eating at lunch, and somebody, you had to wear your mask to the table, but when you sat down at the table, you could take your mask off. So one of my business partners went to the bathroom and came back and was walking through the restaurant with his mask off, and he was asked to leave the restaurant. And he's like, so standing behind my chair, I have to wear my mask, but sitting in my chair, I don't. And, but the logic was not, the logic did not reflect the law. And it was just, it was almost like illusionary that we were in this, this place with a different set of rules and stuff. But again, that's the normal, in that particular place and time. And, it's amazing, like what we as humans get patterned into, and then we just accept as reality, and we just kind of submit.
Yeah. We can talk about it forever, obviously. Like I have a million of those stories, where it was just like, I mean, my quick one was like running outside, and I literally, like, people freaked out. And there was like I ran down the middle of 4th Avenue, and people were yelling, literally the middle of 4th Avenue at that time was 4 lanes before they installed the bike lanes. And, someone yelling from the sidewalk to put my mask on was.
Why do people wear masks in their cars by themselves?
Yeah, I mean, let's 90%. Let's pivot 90 degrees. All right, but Jeff, I mean, again, am I allowed to pivot it, or you want to?
You are driving.
I want you. Here's my hot take right now. I want every employee to be on social media, especially sales marketing. If I had it my way, every department would have their own podcast, similar to, again, like a Barstool model. And again, it's not a plug for DevHub, but purely that it's social, right? I mean, I mean, again, like right now we're retooling our sales and marketing. And again, every candidate, I'm like, what's your thoughts on social? And so I know obviously you've embraced social. Like tell us, and then I'll tell mine. Like, why? What made you do it? How did it feel when you started to where you're at today? I mean, what do you think the 2x, 10x, 20x factor is of it? Like all of it.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I don't post a lot personally because I'm still I am not of the digital native generation. And I don't believe people care what I'm eating or what I'm doing, but like, that's not the point, right? I mean, the point is that people can't engage with and potentially buy from or contract with somebody that they've never known, and somebody they're not aware of. And when you do get aware of somebody, you want to know what they're about. So, creating constant content out there and making sure that it's available for people who are interested in joining Homefront brands so that they know what we're about. Like this conversation right here could, if there's a candidate or a vendor or anybody else, they might make a determination as to whether we're the type of company that, they want to engage with, or if I'm the type of person that they want to get on a call with. And so for that reason, it's important. And I also think that we are more, I mean, you know, it's obvious that brands could become secondary to personal brands. You know, you look at Grant Cardone, he's in the real estate business. Now he was a speaker for years, right? And, you know, he just decided that, or he realized that he can't speak to enough people. So he turned all of his attention to going online. So he's speaking to, you know, millions and tens of millions instead of hundreds. And then, you know, and that really led to, and then you can follow that from there and just say, what can you really help people with? Where do you want to educate people? So for me, you know, my thing is education, and it's education for people that are looking to transition out of corporate America. It's entrepreneurs, existing franchisees, or independent business owners that are looking for good thinking around how to think about their business from a leadership or a growth perspective. So getting people like you and other people on this podcast to say, hey, this is how I did it. These are the challenges I faced. This was how I had to shift my thinking. This is how I was resilient enough to make it through. These are some of the mistakes I made. Like, I mean, honestly, like that's where I learned. I learned mostly through books during my era growing up and reading everything that I could possibly get my hands on. But that's not the preferred medium today. I mean, it is for many, but like for everybody, it's this. So, you know, I have a responsibility. And by the way, I'm a massive introvert. I mean, my personality profile is a massive introvert. So it took a long time to be prodded to get out front of it and to realize that we had to put resources around it. But what I am is a coach. So if anytime that I can assume the role of education, connecting dots, bringing resources to people that they can use to make their lives better, that's what I'm about. So for me, that's why we do the social media. And by the way, I mean, if you're not there, all your competitors are. So you've got to compete for share of people's you know, thoughts and minds. So what are your best platforms? How do you think about it? And
I was right. Yeah. So to me, LinkedIn is essentially 90%, you know, hopefully value. Again, what's the value of a website to a brand, right? And then the 10% is like a picture of my cat or my dad, right? To be like, oh, there's like a human
sure.
behind this, right? It's not just always. And again, I will say with even LinkedIn, I have found that the more I would say off the cuff and unrehearsed, the better it does. Like even the video that I'm looking at that posted today. I guess two quick things before I keep going. So one, I met with my executive team last December as part of like our yearly end of year, and I was just like, I'm drawing the line. I was like, everyone needs to be on social. I don't care if you're posting about DevHub or your life. I don't really care. Just be on LinkedIn for right now. LinkedIn. And the back I got was like, Mark, what takes you 30 seconds to a minute will take me 3 hours. So would you rather me figure out what I'm posting or doing the work? And in my mind, I'm like, there's nothing to make up. Like we're already living it. There's innovation happening every single day, you know? Like I'm dying. Like right now, we did some AI things, and maybe if we get to that, we'll talk about it. But we're going to see the live demo internally on Friday. Well, I know about it right now. Like I knew, you know, and it's like I'm dying to post it, you know, but it's like I have to wait till Friday. But it's like it's already happening all the
Right.
time, you know. And so I don't know what people's hesitation is. B2B on LinkedIn social is just wide open because everyone wants polished, and everyone thinks everyone wants polished. The more off the cuff, but the more industry-ish, I think it does really well. Instagram is a mix, probably 50% personal / entertainment, and then the other half is like business, you know, again, website type stuff. I would say TikTok is just random as hell. Like whatever I'm feeling that day, even if it's a song I'm listening to, I don't really care. I'll just post it. And then YouTube to me is kind of like, in some versions, like a sort of curated by different personality types of mine, right? So some of it's like, here's confessions of a small time
Mm-hmm.
CEO. Here's shorts that I've done. Here's a company that I'm thinking about launching. Here's market analysis. Here's a daily vlog. All of that just kind of curated in YouTube. And again, where I think people sometimes do struggle with social is like they don't see a lift right away, or they can't correlate a lift.
Attribution is
So
very
it's like, oh,
hard.
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's like at this point, here's what I tell people social is. It's human curiosity. So I post a picture of a cat on LinkedIn. They're like, who the hell is this guy posting a picture of a cat on LinkedIn? Go to Mark Michael. Wait, what does Mark Michael do? Oh, DevHub. Oh, wait, websites? Oh, wait, my friend was thinking about websites, or I'm thinking, like it's just human. And like, yeah, then maybe they fill out a form or maybe they DM, but they'll never say, I saw you on LinkedIn,
Yeah. Referred by
And so it's
cat.
like, right. I mean, there's a video that we had last year, 23 views on YouTube. And one of those views was Honest One Auto Care, I'll just say it. And they literally said, we watched this video. That's why we filled out the form. 23 views. And so it's like, I like at this point, after that, I was like, I'm off to the races. I don't even care if it's 5. I don't care if it's 4,000. I don't care if it's 200,000. I'm all about it, And so
now, is that let me ask
again,
you,
like, I think
you're on YouTube. Let
yeah.
me ask about your podcast. It's called Glider CEO.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your cadence with that? And what do you try to get done there?
It's really weird. I've always been like a journaler, I guess. And I always think like we're like right at that generation, at least mine is, that if or when or DevHub becomes that company, I just want all the receipts that no one can ever say, oh, look, they just built a tech company and flipped it. It was like, here's the thoughts. Here's the daily showing up. Here's what working out every day at 5 a.m. actually looks like. Not someone telling you, hey, you should work out in the morning, but like, oh, wow, they actually did get up every day. And there's receipts. There's those videos. And so for me, Glider CEO is basically that journal. And essentially, in some respects, it's me talking to myself to give myself permission in the hopes that it helps somebody else be like, oh yeah, why do I care so much? Like, let me just let it rip. At the same time, I will say, almost for whatever it's worth, I know job seekers right now are a little bit relentless, but nonetheless, for some reason, it seems like most people who obviously are trying to join DevHub are going through all of the content across the different channels and being like, who the hell is this co-founder? And again, it's either like, I like the realness, the directness, the unrehearsed part of this, or no, it's too chaotic. And again, I always tell people in interviews, like, my job is to scare you not to come here. And so, yeah. And so I think around 300 plus episodes. Again, my problem probably with social is that it is always unrehearsed, right? And there's like no rhyme or reason. It's all of a sudden like in 1 week I have 10 ideas. I put all 10 ideas out there: blog, video, a podcast, blah, 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 and then like, and maybe even for 1 month I'll just be in that cadence, just like every day. Oh yeah, this and that and that and that, and then like there'll be like 2 months of nothing.
Do you post yourself?
Just
do it. That's a lot of people that I see taking off and being successful.
I do it in the bathroom.
Okay.
Like I do, like literally I will film it, not think about it all day. When I go to the bathroom, maybe I'll sit a little bit longer and I'll sit there and edit and CapCut but like, it's like, it's part of life, and I'm not overthinking it, which is where I think so many people get stuck, right? I don't want to sound like an idiot. I don't want to sound like this. Like, again, that video I posted today on LinkedIn, it was just like an off the cuff comment I made about the person who had posted the thing before. And I just kind of said like, oh, I don't know if our relationship's there yet. Whatever that line was made them repost it to their profile. And it was like, oh, wow. Like, it was just me I could have edited that out, right? Because I sound like an idiot, But again, I think people recognize real, and that's what they want. And it's like, I don't know if you watched the Meghan Markle show. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but it was wild.
I haven't seen it, but I think that is the hot take, that you post all your social media in the bathroom. I will certainly be thinking about that as I scroll your content. So that is a hot Mark Michael take. Um,
I mean, yeah, it's really easy. I mean, just dumb.
all right,
Because everyone's like, obviously everyone's like, I don't have time.
Right.
And it's like, you do have time.
Yeah.
You just don't want to hit. You just
It
don't want to
doesn't
hit
take
post.
long.
You don't. To tell you the truth, you don't even have to edit it if you
Right.
don't want to.
Yeah.
I normally edit. Here's the thing I edit right here. Watch. Me turning it on. I edit that out, and my arm comes out. Hey,
Okay.
That's the only thing I really edit out. Right
Oh,
there.
the finger.
So what is that like? Yeah, like the finger, like me hitting the button on the phone, is like literally the only thing I actually edit out. Otherwise, it's pretty raw, and I add like a little, depending on that very end, like just like a little trailer at the very end.
Interesting trends in search happening right now. You have an integrated website platform, and you've done integrations. Like what is the? I mean, first before we get to search, what is the secret sauce of the DevHub platform that you believe creates an advantage for the people that use it?
It is 100% built. It is 100% built for location-based businesses, right? So it's multi-websites for businesses that have a lot of locations, not a multi-website platform, which is like spinning up. We always say once you have more than 2 websites, you have a problem. And so again, because it's location focused, there is no, look it up. There is no, everyone has multi-website solutions. Everyone thinks they can use WordPress or whoever else to build a multi-website solution. The problem isn't multi-website. That part's easy. It's the multi-location management where this franchisee wants to do something different, or again, like we've learned a lot in this space. I can talk about it forever. Anyway, but yes, it's focused on multi-location, where that data goes, Google, whatnot, based on, again, location or service area. But yeah.
Does it create more flexibility for franchisees who are aggressive and who want to create content and who really want to contribute to the performance of their website? Does it create the avenue for that easier than other platforms?
The short answer is yes, except like certain things just don't play. Like there's just no shortcuts, right? So again, like I say, a franchisee is like, because don't forget, like what's unique about franchise, which I learned sort of the hard way, right? Like beyond us selling the franchisor and be like, you need to own websites, and all the franchisees, it's like the franchisee is still getting hit up by 1,000 agencies, being like, hey, your website sucks. Hey, your paid search doesn't work. Hey, so like there's a million people in their ear, right? So a lot of what we're doing is being like, trying to work with the franchisor to be like, look, here's what's relevant. So when the franchisee comes over and says, hey, I want to build 10 city pages. Well, it's like, one, the franchisor might be trying to sell one of those other cities, and to take that back is a whole nother issue. But regardless, it's like, yeah, but those city pages are maybe duplicative of something else. Like you're taking away from this call to action. Like and for us to educate, so it's like they have ammo back to tell that agency this. So hopefully it keeps those agencies and other people at bay, so that it's not just always like reactive. Like, because that's what it seems like a lot. Like it's always like, oh, I got to do this thing. It's like, do you? I mean, not you. Anyway, it's like, and it's crazy because again, last year was the first time we were in theory in market, and there was. And I always say my favorite thing is pitching, which I don't know if we got to actually pitch you, but nonetheless, my favorite thing is we pitch, because I always say that as long as we leave it all on the field, if we lose, I don't care. But at least we told, like, here's what's up. Yeah. And again, it's not the cheapest and everything else. And there was 3 brands last year that we lost that all came back this year. And to unwind what happened, because again, someone sold them 10,000 page SEO package. It's like, do you know what you just did though? Like, do you know why you spiked and then tanked? Because it was just totally irrelevant content, but just because it was 10,000 pages, you thought it was like, and again, like I hate to say that is how I sometimes do talk. But again, it's just like, come on, like it's not that hard. Like we say structurally, if the website is sound, you never have to worry about it again. And so, yeah, and then then you can actually measure how the other vendors are performing because the website is. But a lot of times we say you don't even need more leads, you just need a better website.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, keep going.
How much do you play in and obviously with SEO and the structure of the websites matter a great deal, but as far as search goes, I'm working on the I look at it this way. We have our foundational marketing as a franchisor that we aspire to be great at, and that's the websites, that's SEO, that's pay-per-click vendors, that is all the kind of table stakes out there. And then you get into this area of conversion, right, where you get enhanced tools, and that's kind of for people that don't convert immediately off of a web form or schedule or immediately, then they've got to be nurtured and they've got to be converted and they've got to be messaged to. So whether it's text or voice or email or a combination of all of these types of things that happen, and AI is creating lots of conversion tools now that allow you to that allow you to be a lot more granular and a lot more unique in terms of customer experience and stuff like that. So that kind of sits on top of that foundation. Then on top of that sits, campaigning, right? Okay, well now based on the insights that we got from our bottom to, our foundation and our stuff now, hey, there's a whole nother group of people that are probably susceptible to this offer. And what are the offers we can make to drop them into our conversion stack and they play back and forth between the foundation, the website pages and the conversion tools. And it all works together. Complicated stuff. But at the front end of all of that is search. And, you've got Google and you've got all the different aspects that you need to do to play with Google. Then you've got your Bing. And now I was at a conference where they said chat is going to surpass Google in the number of searches in 2026, which it's a tiny fraction of it now. And that's kind of a bold statement, but the content that you need to make for a chat or for a Gemini to pick up is different types of content because they're trying to actually solve your problem through chat versus just serve you a list of options. So it's a really interesting differentiation between how a large language model like chat's going to work in terms of trying to solve your problem. For you could say, who is the best I am having this problem. My air conditioner is making this noise. I live at this address. Who is the best company for me to call? And it'll take a whack at it. It'll reference all kinds of information. It'll say, I would call, Lewis Heating and Air, and I would ask him for this program and that and the other thing, which is kind of crazy. And then we're not even talking about things like Alexa that people might ask or Siri. So I think, the search game has been won. But now maybe it's going to be changing drastically over the next 24 months. Do you have an opinion on that? And if so, what are you doing at DevHub and kind of the website from the website angle to take advantage of those trends? Oh, are you going to hit it? Are you going to hit this out of the park?
No,
or are you hitting me?
We never wanted to build a company. This is going back to 2007. Yeah. We never wanted to build a company that was scared of Google or what comes next. AKA, what comes next is how the consumer behaves, right? So that was always our thesis. That's why I document everything, devhub.com/history. We were always ahead of ADA. We were always ahead of mobile. We were always ahead of Google expanded text ads. We were always ahead of all the Panda updates, Penguin updates. We built the platform to be structurally sound to every SEO schema. What's the other one? Anyway, all of them. But for the record, I'm not the technical one, right? The reason I can talk like this is because my co-founder since I was 17 is the product guy, and he emboldens me to be like, go for it, man. And so like the demo I saw last week. So real quick. So anyway, thesis, never be worried about Google. Structurally, your websites are sound. Again, and so going back to your original thing, it's like, well, what if a franchisee wants to do this? It's like, ultimately they can. Now, do we sometimes think if not the right thing, but then the franchisor is like, just give it to them. It's like how hard do we put our foot down, being like, it will not help and it will only hurt. It's like they just want that call or support ticket to stop coming in. And again, we're trying to be like, here's why, here's why, here's why, here's why it won't work, but it's like, maybe it's crazy enough that it will work. It's like, oh, God damn it. Like, how many years do we have to be doing this, Anyway, so one, we have all the receipts. Never want to build a platform that was scared of anything else coming next. As it relates to the future of search, which is where my co-founder does spend a lot of his time, we're looking at it like this, right? So at least with, again, large language models, AI, this and that, there's two aspects. And again, hopefully we can release this in the next week or so. But anyway, the consumer, right? So again, the consumer doing that search, right, which is a lot more descriptive, saying, hey, my drain is clogged, my kid, did something weird. I need somebody to come over before 3 p.m. before I have friends coming over, and I want it to be cheap and quick, whatever the hell, right? We're actually playing with that. One, to natively integrate with some of those LLMs to basically sync the site to those. So one, a ChatGPT can actually read a DevHub site better than it can just read any other site on the web because it's actually natively integrated. But obviously that content has to exist on the site. And then of course, the flip side of how we're looking at it is for even like a Homefront brands or whoever that we're working with in the future, that like you can actually create your own AI agent, aka let's say your own web developer in-house, to basically be like, hey, go into my Northwest region of 7 brands, let's just say if it is like that, and roll, like I got goosebumps and a little teary-eyed. Anyway, go into my Northwest region of all 7 brands, because all 7 brands on DevHub, right? And be like, hey, I want, to update this promo. Structurally, it knows DevHub, right? We've integrated like that, and actually can take all those actions that right now either you would have to do it or we would have to do it, right? But like neither you, Jeff, or Mark Michael have
So
to
you got
do
an
it
age. You're
in the
building an
very near
agent.
future. Again, we're still not.
We can wait for Friday.
Really, well, we're just not. I don't know. I'm waiting for I don't want to be too far ahead of my co-founder. But again, regardless, that type of stuff won't happen anyway until probably like the end of Q4 2025, Q1 2026. But again, like right now, I think it's doing 2 simple tasks. One, it's again, how does a ChatGPT, or I think actually tomorrow, Fridays is maybe Perplexity. I forgot. Anyway, one of the models to basically, no, what's Google's Claude? Maybe it's Claude. Anyway, I think maybe it's probably Google, obviously.
Gemini.
But anyway, where it's like how maybe anyway, how is it actually reading the site?
Yeah.
Within the conversational aspect of an LLM, and here's it completing said task of like, hey, go into my network of sites, only update the Northwest region. Okay, that's why location focused CMS is the game changer, not just a multi-site, right? Oh, I know by zip code, I know by a million other things that those other ones are just using those as like tags, and like they're basically just hacking it together. And so anyway, yes, thinking about all of it. Yeah. Oh, and then real quick, because it is, let's say multi-location, location focus CMS, like let's say that issue of a partial form fill or whatever that's not being completed, like one, we innovate against that. So a lot of what we're actually building beyond the initial build is obviously the ongoing license, which is going into this R&D. So we solve for partial form fills. So again, that gets to roll, somebody else, the license fees essentially pay for that. And so we roll it out to you guys so that now you actually capture that. And then again, you still have to put it into the nurture or whatever, but at least you have some information that it wasn't just like a ghost still. Real quick, second thing, having been in websites for so long, right? So again, we started off as the classic website builder, call it Wix, Weebly, Squarespace. And it was first individual small businesses, right? So again, you think a media company, Yellow Page company at that time is going, or TV cable company. Hey, I want to sell you digital ads, but I also want to sell you a website. So that sales rep goes in, says, "Hey, small business, plumber, whoever, what kind of website do you want?" right? And they're doing that all for, call it $50 a month or $100 a month, and when you give to a person a choice, basically there's almost no choice, right? And so what we did in those 10, 15 years was like, we actually looked at verticals, right? Specifically actually home services, to be like, wait, there's a really pretty home service site with like the van and all this stuff. And then here's the site that actually drives traffic, or sorry, drives conversions, right? There's no map on the page. The hero image better have the call to action in it. It better all load on the top half of mobile. And so then now those sales reps, as they went in to sell, small businesses, be like, do you want a pretty site or do you want a site that drives calls, clicks, form fills? And again, 99% of people. So it was never, then it stopped being about like design and how many templates do you have. And then it got really fun because then they started to scale, but then the whole world sort of imploded on itself. And then, yeah.
Talking about UI, UX, user interface, user experience. There was all this. I remember seeing Gary Vee at like the IFA conference, like, I don't know, 5 years ago now. And he was saying this time next year, nobody's going to use a keyboard anymore. It's all going to be voice. Okay, I use voice for a lot of things now. But it doesn't feel like it's gotten as where it was going as fast as people thought it was going to get there. What do you see right now with the rapid changing in technology as far as user experience goes? I mean, are we going to be moving with AI? Are we going to be able to move even more onto mobile than onto desktops? I mean, if that's even possible now. What are you guys doing? What are you seeing? Or do you think it's just going to be kind of business as usual? People, getting tech neck, looking down at their phones, clicking away at stuff and getting what they need?
Two angles. One,
I mean, I just want the thing on my shirt, like Captain Kirk. I just want to press the button and ask for what I want. Like that's where.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the numbers don't lie. I mean, basically it's like 70-80% of all searches are mobile at this point, especially when it's something local. Like that's been a fact for like, it's gotta be close to a decade, but let's just call it 5 years. And so like, that's already there. The reality is though, like when we do our pseudo presentations, right? Like we still show everything on desktop, but just, with like a huge asterisk, like this is all built, a different version's actually built for mobile. And, I always say like there's this thing called human time. Like how did the Carnegies, the Morgans, the Rockefellers build these huge empires back in the day? And today it's like, like, hey, can you meet today? And like, even we can do it right now, but it's like, can we meet today? Let me check for like 2-3 weeks. Meanwhile, back then they're sending a telegram. What I say is like, ultimately, you walk into a Bank of America, they're still running Windows XP. I think Lufthansa is still flying on like, Windows 2000, like there's just like a human element that, and it's like, I try to judge things on two things: what my parents are doing, and when I go to the bathroom on the airplane and I walk back down the aisle to look at everyone's devices to see what everyone is doing. And so, mobile is definitely here. Voice will be more a part of it. I mean, I think that this is starting to feel more and more clunky.
Yeah.
But again, like it's still like a lifeline. I mean, we just sleep next to it, like, so we're not there yet. It's not in here yet, even though maybe it looks like it's there. Maybe it'll be in my ear soon.
Yeah. Think about it though. Like,
it's just a matter of time.
Like I go to a website to give me an indication that I need to take an action. Okay. Are they here? Do they have what I'm looking for? Can I tell, what the price is and how long it's going to take? Like I'm going for that information. So I sit down or I go to my phone and I just start researching. Well, AI does that for you. So if you just tell them the prompt is the problem that you want to solve, like you can skip all that by just asking the right question. If you're confident that the search is going to be exhaustive, number one, number two, it's going to arrive at the same conclusion that you would have anyway had you put the time in. And, and then how long will it be before we all, I have this very cool thing. If I send you an email, or I've got a new jeffdudan.com website coming out, I have a clone. And to write content for my shorts, and we invested a lot of time in this, and it was actually something that came with the membership of a group I've got. It's not an inexpensive tool. At what point I'm gonna have to start paying for it, but like it answers questions better than me, like that I would answer. And so if we want to write something in my words, we can pose the question to that short, to that clone. It'll give me an answer. I can take that answer and I can go to Chat or Grok or one of the, and I can have them expand it, because we also have a Jeff Dudan chat bot, a GPT bot. And so now I've got, 2 reasonable facsimiles of me, but it's all from, articles and my books and podcasts and everything. So it basically it knows how I'm going to answer the question. So I'm like if somebody asks me a question, sometimes I'll just pull it up and ask it, and I'll put the phone down and it'll talk for 3 minutes and it'll answer their question. But it would have been exactly the way I would have answered it if I was well rested, prepared, and organized. And if I'm tired and I don't feel like doing it, I'll say, here, let me give you the answer. And it's great. So like, at what point does everybody have a clone of themselves? And then the decisions that it serves back to them are, a reasonable facsimile of where they would have landed in the first place.
I mean, someone to build that, make it easy for everyone to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's again, like I doubled down on all of the content and everything that I do, because I do think there'll be a way for somebody to ingest it one day, or a technology to ingest it all and be like, here you are, I haven't done it yet, but again, like when we look at it from the website side of it, and this is my co-founder now talking, he said there's one, it's a data play, right? So ultimately, again, like how do you sync that data where it needs to go? Right? It needs to go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or Cloud or whatever the hell, and how does that serve it up? Also, does that need to go to your classes? Does that need to go to Alexa? Does that need to go to, where it needs to go? But then ultimately what he keeps saying is that the website is still where a lot of the action is still being taken. Like even when we're playing with, ChatGPT or OpenAI's operator, right? It's still going to the website to book an appointment. So like you said at the beginning of this call, the front door. And when you walk into the front door, like, is that CRM behind the scenes going to work and fire the way it needs to? Like, is that integrated in a way that is also responsive to that AI agent coming to the website? Like, so there's like basically in most of the sites we're doing, obviously multi-location, there are, call it what, at least 2 to 4 integrations on every system. And so whether it's a tracking pixel, whether it's a CRM, whether it's a chatbot, and so he still believes that it's the ultimate source of truth. It's the ultimate representation of the brand, even if the consumer is not necessarily coming to the website. That website still being that data repository to be able to be sent to where that data is being called out of. And so he lets me breathe at night, or lets me sleep at night for, I think, at least another 2 to 5 years.
I think the websites are going to be more important than ever. The nature of the content that a chat search is going to be looking for is going to have, it's actually more content. It's going to have to be more robust and more specific and more complete, because that's what it's going to be looking for. So the websites become, very, very important for all the ways that the information is going to be accessed. It's got to be somewhere, right? And by the way, there are still people on AOL. So like, it's to your point, like the rate of adoption of us as humans, as we work our way through this life and we age, there's, people, my wife's mother, she's better at Facebook than I am. I mean, it's up there.
I don't know. My father has the flip side. He's like anti-tech.
But they're going to want to they're not going to adopt these AI technologies very quickly. So it's all interesting, but man, it's moving so fast right now.
but again, like, look, there's this record of our conversation,
Yeah.
and we'll see how I love it because again, it's another
See how it
receipt.
ages.
We'll see how it
Yeah.
ages, right? Did DevHub live up? Did they build that brand? You caught us in that moment where it's like, oh my God, that's now the de facto standard for how agents, how AI, how chat, like plays into the future, or did they, not get there in time? I mean, I look at it like I told everyone in our company, it's a 22-month race at this point. It's 24, obviously. Actually, no, shit. Now we're almost the end of first quarter. So, yeah, about 21 months race right now to get to where we think it's going, regardless to have all the standards plugged in, the new standards that are being adopted by the
Yeah, you
consumer.
certainly
So
you got
it's a
your
really fun
vision
time.
boards have to get a lot shorter in terms of time frame now. It's not like I mean, 10,
Oh,
can you imagine 10 years from now? I mean, not even worth thinking about. Like there's so much to do to get.
but and then going back to, I think we were talking about social before. That's why I do think brand will outlive almost
Yep.
anything. Is kind of where I'm like almost like the hill that I'm willing to die on at this point. Whether that's a personal brand or the company brand, I believe it. You know,
Yeah.
my problem right now is that I'm out there talking on behalf of DevHub, and like, what is the overall message? Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they think they're great. But like, what is the singular thing? And that is what we're honing in on right now. And so, I mean, once we nail that, like, we're good. At least on
Well,
the front end of this whole
it's
thing.
a great platform. It's thoughtfully put together. It's got 20 years of development behind it, where you were behind the scenes, kind of as a white label product for smart people to use.
A drug
Yeah,
dealer. That's what I used to tell people.
and then you're like, who is that man behind the curtain? And you opened up the curtain, and out you popped, and now you're working with great brands like Homefront Brands and so many
I know.
others in the franchise space.
Yeah, I don't know. Every like again, when you say it like that, it makes me teary eyed because it's like, oh my God, we're out there. I'm telling you, we were behind the scenes for so
Yeah,
long. And it was just like, I hate to say like bitching, but nonetheless, it was like, come on, like, why would you do that? Not this. Like, this is crazy. Like, let us lead. Blah, blah, blah. And again, once you're live, hopefully that's where you start to see a lot of the
yeah.
value, right? And like a lot of things that we're developing. Oh, by the way, now you have this capability across all your brands. Like, holy shit! Like they just did that on their own. Like, yeah, like that's what gets everyone excited over here. Like again, it's an actual technology, not just like a service that we
Yeah.
provided.
Well,
And
we're
so,
looking forward to
yeah,
growing together with you, your team, and with DevHub. You got time for a curveball and a fastball? Oh, by the
yeah.
way, uh, what happened to the rock band called Married?
So it's, I'll tell you right now. He's right here. Look at him. Look at him right here. He's
Oh
right there.
man! All right, what was going on there?
So about I listened to rap. So I'm 42, right? Graduated high school 2000. So I listened to rap. Call it 38 years of my life, just to make it 38 years. I was all about rap, 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 rap. Everything's rap. I never heard a rock song in my life. I didn't care. I didn't care. It was all about rap. I wanted to party. It was rap, rap, rap. And then one day I just woke up and was like, rap's full of shit. Like I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't believe it. It's like they're lying. They're not really, like about the life that they're, I'm just like, oh, I can't, I'm like, I can't, like, it feels fake at this point. So I stopped listening to rap and I went down the rock and roll rabbit hole. Like everything was new to me from Van Halen, Cheap Trick. I mean, all of it was new to me. Like every time I talked to somebody, they'd be like, "Ah, Mark." I'm like, no, I didn't know Motley. I just didn't know. Like I just didn't pay attention, didn't care. I went down the rabbit hole so hard. I went to the guitar. I'm gonna learn guitar now. And so I went to the guitar store to buy a guitar. And then I saw like this little Wurlitzer in the corner, which is like a little smaller piano. I knew it's like the Ray Charles-ish sound. I'm like, and they're like, oh, it's a rock and roll piano. I'm like, I'm gonna be the best piano player. I'm gonna put on shows. I even got the name Mary tattooed on my side, which I still laugh about like an idiot. But nonetheless, I took 2 singing lessons and I put on a concert for like 80 people, and I absolutely bombed it.
Okay.
except our merch was good. And regardless, like, I think I bombed, but people thought it was all part of the act. And so I was like, oh my God, I can actually be good at this. And so I've been practicing. My point is, married, it's not dead.
Okay.
And hashtag let's get married. Let's get married. But anyway, yes, it's in theory a rock band. I actually don't even think it's a rock band anymore. It's more of like if Bobby Darin, Perry Como, Dean Martin had like an 80s synth behind it, it's like in that vein.
Okay.
And so,
well,
yeah.
You talked 80 people into joining into your illusion of this event. It must have been a blast.
It was. And it was called Martinis. And the next one is in in September in Kennebunkport, Maine.
Seriously.
So everyone's invited. Yeah, 100%.
Oh.
And so I'm opening up with Beyond the Sea by Bobby Darin. Again, think with a little bit of synth, and I'm getting, yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well,
yes.
I will check my email for my invite. Save the date. All right. Well,
I'll text
all right,
you.
cool. Here's a curveball for you, Mark.
Yeah.
If gun to your head, you had to start a new business in the next 30 days that you are currently not active in, where's the opportunity that you as an entrepreneur see? And if you had to do it, like what's the one thing that you would do? Starting.
Copy culture has gone too far. People want drip coffee fast. They want their time back. We're sick of paying with tips. It got too pretentious. I would 100% go into the coffee business. Yes.
I agree with that. Well, what would you call it? And it would have to be something like really simple.
It's BBNYC, Best Brewed New York City, Best Brewed Seattle, Best Brewed Boston, Best Brewed Austin, Best Brewed Miami, Best Brewed, and that's what it is. 10 drips, 5 hot, 5 regular, 2 decaf, 3 cold brew, fast, time back. You can't sit there with your laptop. You're in. There's shifts of people, 3-4 people serve you, check you out. No more waiting in line. No more standing behind the La Marazana, whatever the hell machine that is that everyone has. Like, get your time back, meet your neighbors, be cool.
Double drive-through is the ones that I've seen now, where you just have drive-through on both sides and no seating. So here you go. 10 drips, no tips to your lips.
Goosebumps. You see my hair standing up? I mean, it probably always does stand up, but nonetheless.
That's 10 drips, no tips to your lips.
10 drips to your... Wait, 10
no
drips.
Tips.
No tips.
To your lips. A lot of people are upset about the tipping, that you're constantly being forced. I mean, you pick up a $6, $7 sandwich or whatever, and they're, it's like 20%.
I'm not going to show the company name, but nonetheless, this is a 16-ounce drip coffee for $5.02. And I would say not a New York City, right? I mean, a cappuccino in Seattle is basically $12. Like, and like, there's just no hospitality. It's like, go wait in line, then wait in another line. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
what's a fair price you like to pay for a good cup of coffee?
For drip coffee, $4 tax and tip included.
Okay.
In a major city.
Yeah. I mean, I think Starbucks used to be like $1.90 for their drip, but now everything's crazy. Best Brewed New York City. You got it.
The thesis. We're also going to have $2 shots of Coca-Cola, because I don't think anyone wants to drink a whole can.
Okay.
So just like a little $2 pour of Coca-Cola. Again, like bar. So it's like a bar. You can't see it. And you see, like, this is a bar. So it's a U-shaped bar.
Yeah.
Right? So again, 3-4 people working any side. We serve and pour on any side of the bar you walk up to.
Yeah. Look,
so
any drinks is super high margin. It's super high margin.
Donut holes, bagel bites, cookies, all wrapped in butcher paper. Shot of Coke, 2-ounce pour, $2. A caviar bump for $10.
Caviar bump. Okay.
Again, my idea is like even hyper local. So like, I'm thinking obviously New York City. So like, each neighborhood has kind of like maybe
Yeah.
their thing. So this first one is Gramercy Park. So for that one, it's like a caviar bump. I don't know. We'll see
Here in
what the
North
rest of the
Carolina,
community
we'll
is all
do,
about.
1 spoon of cheese grits. There you
See?
go. 25
Hey,
cents.
hey, I have to. Hey, I'll sell you that franchise.
Thanks. I'll fill out a form on
Yeah.
the website.
Is that that'd be BB Raleigh, or is that Durham, or where are you at in
Just
North
north of
Carolina?
Charlotte.
Yeah, I'll give you
B,
RTP. Fine, you can have
I'll take
BBRTP.
BBCLT.
Whatever.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can
See,
have one at the airport.
actually, to tell you the truth, I'm almost convinced I would franchise too.
Uh,
I'm almost
well,
convinced.
you know who to call. Well, you have a lot of people you could call, but all right.
No, I just found out that you went to a coffee concept in Seattle. Obviously, you are going to be my
Yeah, there
first
you
call.
go. There you go. It was a good one too. I liked it. Worked with him for a little bit. All right. Here. So that was the curveball. Here's the fastball. And by the way, thanks. Before we do that, how can people get in touch with you, Mark? Where do you want to direct people that want to either connect with you or connect with the business?
Look, number one, websites, devhub.com, markmichael.org, Glider, CEO, like Glider, like hand glider, CEO, like Chief Executive Officer. Just Google that. That pops up on all social. But I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I mean, just because it is out there. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
You're good.
Great. Okay, here's the fastball. If you had one sentence to make an impact in somebody's lives based upon your journey, what would that be?
If you know you're right and you're good looking, go for it.
Is that from your dad? If you know you're right and you're good looking, go for it.
He instilled a psychotic confidence in all the boys and the cats that he's like, I mean, honestly, like every time we walk in the room, he's like, I can't even look at you guys. You're so good looking.
I'll tell you what, one of the best predictors of a happy, fulfilled life is self-esteem. And it is up to our parents to instill that in us. And it sounds like he did.
And again, I try to pass that on, without kids of my own, to my nephews, and I don't have nieces yet, I don't think. But yeah, I'm like, yo, my God. I mean, they're like firstborn, they can't even put their head up, and I'm like, gosh, you're good looking. Just in their face with like a mustache, like, you're the best looking. If nothing else, you're so good looking.
That will make an impact.
No, it is true.
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time because they raised us very strict. Very strict. Like even joking like this was not in our household. It was like very strict until about 22, 23 years old. And then it was like, he was just like, one day, and you always say the same thing, one day we'll be best friends. Like, F you will never be best friends. You don't know what it's like. All this shit that you say as a teenager. And then sure enough, like they hang out all the time.
We had a similar evolution in my relationship with my kids. They were all very strict on me, but eventually they realized from a young age that I was the problem.
Are they all big?
No, not really. They're normal, just,
really
normalish, and
yeah, because you're a big guy. Like you're tall, like you have a presence, like, and so yeah.
We get along.
Good. Congratulations,
I appreciate it, man. They're great. Well, hey, Mark, this has been amazing. Really enjoyed our time together. I look forward to our relationship as it continues to grow. DevHub is great for any company out there, especially multi-location businesses like franchising. We have a big audience in franchising here, so hopefully you'll get some calls and maybe you'll get some deals out of it. It is a long cycle time. The switching cost is high, but so you want to work with a partner that you can trust, because you certainly don't want to do it more than once. And DevHub, for our money, is a big part of that solution. So, Mark, thanks for being on.
No, thank you, Jeff and team, for trusting us. I mean, that's what this is all about.
100%.
And so,
all right. This is Jeff Dudan. We have been with the unflappable Mark Michael, and we have been on the home front. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.